welcome to HR in the Fast Lane. Today we have a wonderful guest, Scott Sinclair, CEO and founder of Xclutel Communications. Hey Scott, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for coming out today. So,
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I want to just emphasize, when I looked at, we have to introduce him, of course. And so as I'm looking at your background, I'm thinking, this is fascinating. I know that you're an entrepreneur, just like myself. But the first thing that jumps out about me and you and our variants is that I'm an entrepreneur that's newer, right? I'm somebody that was in the corporate world for like 2 decades before I jumped off the ship. And here's somebody next to me, you guys, who worked in the corporate world, or the public world, if you will, for how many years?
About 4.
4. Okay, 4 years, you guys. So that means 14 years ago he founded his business and he has scaled it. And it's not just any business, ladies and gentlemen. He literally is, you're looking at the CEO of one of the 101 best and brightest companies to work for in Chicago. All right? That's a big, big thing to announce, because not just any company can actually have a culture that is winning workplace here in Chicagoland. And so first and foremost, we have to go back in time. I think we have to go back in time to understand what happened that made you so visionary and entrepreneurial.
So, it's kind of a funny story.
I like funny.
I don't know that there was this great pull to say, you're an entrepreneur. Although when I was a little kid, we used to collect golf balls from the golfers by my house and sell them back to them. So I was always kind of entrepreneurial. But I was working, actually I dropped out of college, okay? And I dropped out of college to be a rock star.
Love it.
And I was still living on campus for a while, and my parents said, come home for the weekend, we got to talk to you. Like, we found out that you dropped out, and we're not real happy about that. You need to come home. And so then they proceeded to tell me that they were going to retire and move to Florida, and I'm on my own.
And you're on your own.
I was on my own. So,
oh my gosh.
I'm thinking, how am I going to be a rock star if I have no place to live, and I'm not making any money?
Yeah, that's kind of problematic.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a problem. My dad was a longtime member of Local 134, union guy for electricians. So he, through kind of some of the people he knew, I ended up getting a job at an electrical contractor, driving materials to and from the jobs.
Okay.
And eventually worked my way into being a union technician. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I needed to do that so that I could buy a house, because it didn't make any sense to rent an apartment and rent a practice studio. It's too expensive. Yeah. So I needed to get a house.
Problem solver.
Yep, so that I could have a place to live and practice. Eating was optional. And
I wish it were for me. It's not.
No, it's not for me either, clearly. And so I did that, and it was working out for a while, and we were making music and doing all kinds of stuff. And then at some point, 4 years later, I decided, you know what? I need more time to work on my music. So I think I'm going to start a business.
Wow. So you're basically the kind of a person that, now they say millennials now actually look at their job as their side gig. Mm-hmm. But you were like, way back then, not that far, but truly, right? Back then you're saying, I'm going to get a job and that's going to be my side hustle because I'm really going to be a musician.
Yeah, well, I was going after the passion.
Yeah.
The passion was the music and the creativity and everything else. And it was interesting because everybody who's an entrepreneur knows that you don't become an entrepreneur to get more time.
Right.
So
that's an oxymoron, right?
Yeah. So the plan didn't quite work out that way, but it was interesting because I always had that creativity and that purpose, and I need to be working for some higher thing.
Absolutely.
And so it came to a point in my professional career as an entrepreneur that I had to really reinvent myself and find the passion in what I was doing.
And it's so fortunate. Like, you were really fortunate to dial into how important that passion is, right? Some people are still looking for their passion. And to me, it's beautiful to hear you say that you had that passion, you were searching for that passion, and you knew that you had to, nurture it wherever you went.
Yeah.
That's really something. When you think of the business that you've built today, and you think of all the people that you took on that ride with you, right? I mean, first of all, did you even realize that you'd be and take it as far as you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's huge because belief, right? Fundamental.
I haven't taken it as far as I want to take it.
That's even better.
You know what I mean?
Right?
So it's like, I figured when I started this thing out, it was only going to take 2 or 3 years, and I'm set.
Yeah.
Right?
It's never over, right?
No.
Never.
No,
Especially if your passion's connected to it. I mean, when you think of stated purpose and you think of, for me, it's all about joy and purpose, right? And so for you, if you think of purpose and you think of purpose in your business, I mean, it's truly, if you were to go research this man in Xclutel Communications, look at them online, it's literally, you'll read this. It says, we're basically providing our customers an exclusive customer service experience, right? Now, many people say this, right? So you're like, yada, 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 no offense. And then you get into, unlike the unaccountable, apathetic experience that they've had in the past when dealing with the typical corporate phone company. And you're like, oh, let me read that again. The apathetic, unaccountable phone company. Tell me about the purpose in that and how you brought people to that with you.
It really, the core of it is all about really wanting to help people and really wanting to guide them towards a better way of doing things and a better partner. So when I was coming up, we started off just doing structured cabling. So it was your voice and data fiber optic cabling in businesses.
Okay.
And the customers that we had at that time were really asking us, can you do more? Can you hook up my fax machine? Can you service my phone system? Can you do more? Because we just don't have good people that service this stuff. And so we kind of organically grew, but the undertone there was the small to medium-sized businesses in the Chicagoland market were underserved, big time.
And still are, right?
Yeah, well, they are. They are, because we don't have much market share.
Well,
in the telecom space.
In the telecom space, there's so much opportunity.
Right.
Still to people to understand that there are service providers that are aiming for excellent service in that space.
Right. Right.
So that's really interesting. Do you feel that through your mission, right? How did you connect your mission to the personal missions of the people that work for you, and how does that become the cornerstone of your culture?
Well, it became very clear very early on that it needed to be more than about me.
Yeah.
It needed to be more than about my passion. If I was going to deliver, I could do it myself, right?
Of course.
But I can only do it myself for like 1 or 2 people.
That's right.
So if I
then you're not scaling, right?
Right, you're not scaling at all. So in order to get other people to buy into that higher vision, I needed to buy into their personal vision and mission. There had to be some alignment there. There had to be some kind of commonality between what we were after. There had to be that right type of person to put in that seat that could get some personal fulfillment out of it, but also was rowing in the same direction.
How did you identify that?
Through a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Early on, I'll be honest with you, there was no formula. I didn't have a clue. It just either worked or it didn't work.
Yeah.
And then over time, we started changing the way that we recruited. We started changing some of the assessments that we would use to try to...
Even using assessments?
Right, to try to find some commonality between the people that were really successful and the new people coming on board.
Interesting.
So that's worked out. But I also realized that from a recruiting standpoint, I am the absolute worst person in the whole company to interview anybody.
Why is that?
I'm the kind of guy that's like, okay, here's the vision, let's go get it. And if somebody's sitting across the table and says, I'm in, let's go, I'm like, let's go. Right?
It's that simple. It's that easy.
So I'm good at writing a process and kind of laying out all this stuff, but in some cases, it's important for it to be about the company, and if it's about the company, it's got to be about somebody else stepping up and helping to get that person in the right seat.
Yeah, just aligning it, right?
Right. So
it's really more of an art than a science, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, for sure. For sure. You can use some science to kind of point you in a direction, but it is definitely more of an art. And even after all the things that we've done, we probably went from a personal standpoint, like putting the right people in the right seats. At one point, we were less than a 10% success rate. Yeah. And even now, after all this, we might be at a 50%. But it's still the hardest thing for small businesses is to, number one, find people, then find the right people, and then match that up with putting them in the right seat.
Do you think it's really important to actually define who talent is, but then who talent is for you is different than maybe who talent is for me? And having that really dialed in, have you dialed in who is talent for Xclutel?
Someone who is a self-starter, okay, someone who values accountability. Like I always say to people before they start working for us, you know, you need to think for yourself, and if you're the type of person that needs to be babysat, this is probably not a good fit for you. So we need those people that can see the train heading for a brick wall and say, hold on, something is not right here.
Not yes people.
No, not yes people. And with that though, with that culture, and we promote it, there's conflict, right? There's people that step up and say, you know, Mr. Sinclair, you're not being smart on this thing. We need to think of it differently. And I like that. I want to be in a room with nothing but people that are smarter than me. I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room.
It's a leadership quality. I mean, truly, right? Rounding it out.
I think it's insanity if the leader of a company wants to be the smartest guy in the room.
Absolutely.
So
there's a lot to be said in just that sentence alone, right?
Yeah,
it's your wisdom talking right there, Scott. You got some wisdom. Yeah, it's nice. So based on the fact that you have some new partners and you're growing,
yes,
right? So if those of you who were job seeking, you could rewind or go back to what his job profile was, because they're going to be hiring. But on a side note, you think of that, you take on new partners, you have a lot of growth going on in your business. How do you actually continue to express your culture invitation to the talent that's been with you for a long time against the new talent that's coming in and marry that? What do you feel, right? It's really important because that's really going to be where you're at right now. And you think of HR in the fast lane. What is some of the dynamic HR things that you think are going to be the cutting edge things that make the difference?
So it's a real challenge. I mean, I think now culture is definitely a moving target. It's not something that you could set your core mission and your vision, your values and your goals and all that stuff, but the culture is all about the drops in the bucket. You know, if you've got some nice purple Kool-Aid, right, and then you get somebody to come along and drop one drop of clear liquid in there, it dilutes the purple Kool-Aid, and pretty soon you've got lavender Kool-Aid.
That's right.
You know, kind of like the shirt.
Yeah. And it's that easy.
It is. So it's very important that before, you know, the new person drops into the bucket, that they're vetted as best as you possibly can to make sure that they're buying into the culture.
Right.
So that you can kind of maintain something. But at sometimes, you know, somebody comes in and drops something in the bucket, and it's a good change, and it improves culture and improves communication. So you have to be open to that too. You can't just be, you know, you have to match this or else. Right. You know, you have to be open to something else coming in
diversity,
and making the company greater.
Absolutely.
Because it is about the company.
Yeah. Such wisdom. I think it's such an honor to absolutely just get a little deeper with you today. I really appreciate the time that you've spent with me. I think that the things that you've shared with our audience today are really good nuggets of somebody that's really taken a business from the ground all the way to being a best place to work in Chicago. So truly, thank you very much, Scott.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Where can they find you?
Xclutel.com, www.xclutel.com. That's Xclutel.com.
Apply now. Talk to you later.